Clay. This is for eTech N450, and it's a wrap-up of the final lesson from December 16th, 2009. Like I told you yesterday during your interviews, this is a must-see video. For some of you, it'll be new material because you missed the class on the 16th. And even if you were in class, I would strongly suggest watching this video to prepare for the exam. We're going to start with the lecture. First thing we want to talk about is what data are collected. Now I'm going to go a little bit quickly because you can always rewind this video. But when we collect data, we look for a few things. First is the current status of the project. That's in terms of the schedule and the cost. Now once we have the current status, the second thing is the remaining cost to complete the project. In addition to the cost to complete it, we want the date that the project will be complete. So again, the first three things are the current status until now in terms of schedule and cost. The second thing is the remaining cost, and the third thing is the date of the completion, so the remaining schedule. The next thing we need to do is find the potential problems that we address now. So things that have gone wrong that we can fix by paying attention to them immediately. And the next point, the fifth point, is activities that have gone out of control. So things that really we can't fix, we need to take a drastic measure, and probably we need to consult with senior management on those. And the sixth thing is cost or schedule overruns and the reasons. And as always, the reasons for these overruns are particularly important. And the final thing is the overruns at the time of completion. So to run through them quickly, we got the current status, the schedule, and the cost. And then we've got the remaining cost and the remaining time, which is the date that the project will be complete. The next two items are problems that need to be addressed now and out of control problems that require intervention, probably from senior management. And the last two things are cost overruns at the moment and the reasons for them, and finally cost overruns at the time of the completion. And that all relates to what data are collected. The next two things we've got to worry about are the actual collecting of the data and the analysis, and the reports and the reporting process. As far as collecting is concerned, we need to know who's going to collect the project data. Is it the team, or the contractor, or the project manager himself, or somebody who's independent? Next, we want to know how the data will be collected. More and more, we're using modern information systems instead of surveys to get the data. The third question is, when will it be collected, and who will compile and analyze the data? Compile means put it together. Who will put the data together and who will analyze it? Is that going to be a central area, or is a separate department going to take care of cost and a separate department take care of schedule? Finally, we move to the reports and the reporting. Who's going to actually receive the report? It's important because different reports are needed for different levels. Senior management might want to know, are we on time and are we within budget? And if not, what are we doing about it? But the project manager might want to know where the deliverables and the work packages are at and if they're being handled correctly. So we got to know who's going to receive the reports. Also, how will they be transmitted and when will they be distributed? So who, how, and when. This next slide is especially important. This is the 5 pieces of the report. Basically, we've got the progress since the last report. That's an update and brings us to the moment. And then we say the current status of the project in terms of the triple constraint: schedule, cost, and scope. The next thing we want to consider is cumulative trends. And these are trends that maybe we have a cost overrun, but it's because we spent too much money in the beginning on a single item. So we would be over budget. That's not a cumulative trend. A cumulative trend means it builds on itself. So if the cost of labor has gone up, we're over budget, but we will also continue to be over budget on a growing scale. So we might be 10,000 dirhams over budget at the moment, but by the time the project finishes, we'd be 30,000 dirhams over budget. So it's a cumulative trend. The fourth thing we look at is the problems and issues since the last report. So how have we solved earlier problems, and have we identified any new problems? And finally, the corrective action that was planned. So I want you to be able to, we don't have the chance really to write progress reports, but I want you to recognize that these 5 main headings are the generally accepted structure for a progress report. These are the control steps, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Moving on to the 6th slide, I need you to know these terms. These terms are quite important. They're on the next 2 slides. Earned value, which is basically the percent complete times the original budget. So if we expect that the project is going to, if the project is 20% complete, and we expect that it's going to cost 200,000 dirhams, the earned value is 40,000 dirhams. 20% times 200,000 dirhams. If you work on some older computer programs, that would be called a different name. It's the budgeted cost of the work performed. But generally we use earned value now. The software programs have changed. So that's the earned value. The second thing is the planned value. And it's not as relevant to us, but it's a baseline value of the work scheduled. And it used to be called the budgeted cost of the work scheduled as opposed to the work performed. So earned value is what we have spent, and planned value is what we had planned to spend when we got to this stage. For us, the actual cost is extremely important. The actual cost is what we've really spent. So it's just an accounting process. We take the costs that we've incurred and we add them together, and that's the actual cost. Sure. Okay, so we've got the earned value, the planned value, and the actual cost. The next thing that we want to talk about is the cost variance. Cost variance and the schedule variance are very The cost variance is simply the earned value minus the actual cost. So basically, we expect that we would have spent 40,000 dirhams. We've actually spent 35,000 dirhams. So to complete 20% of the work, we thought we would spend 40, but when we checked the receipts, we saved 5,000 dirhams. That 5,000 dirhams is the cost variance, and it's a positive thing, probably. We take what we thought we would spend and subtract what we did spend. If that number is greater than 0, it indicates a cost savings. But there might be a reason for that, so we can't simply say it's a good thing. The schedule variance measures time, but what you need to remember is that it measures time in terms of money. Let me say that again. It's a schedule variance, so we're measuring time, but we use money to do it. And the reason for that is we take the earned value, and that's what we expected to spend at this stage of the project, and we subtract the planned value. I can't believe I said that. Let me try cost variance again. The cost variance, as you can see from the notes, is the difference between the earned value and the actual costs for where we are today. So to find it, we take what we expected to have spent for the work that we've done. So, for example, if we're 20% of the way finished, and the project was going to cost 200,000 dirhams, that would be 40,000 dirhams, and we'll subtract what we've actually spent. So maybe we've only spent 35,000 dirhams. We have 40,000 dirhams minus 35,000, and the cost variance is positive 5,000 dirhams. Now these are the exercises that we're going to do in a few minutes.